When it comes to your environment, it'll either make you or break you, but no matter what, it will shape you. I'm Robert Nichols, and I flipped over $50 million worth of real estate and funded another $100 million plus in hard money loans. And why is this important? Because I've learned more from my mistakes than I've learned from my wins. And recently I had the opportunity to speak with Donahue Peebles. He is the nation's richest African-American real estate developer. And through the conversation I had with him, I learned 5 key principles that I've applied to my business to help take my business to another level. And I hope that it helps do the same for you. The 5 principles I'm going to share today are: number 1, the power of our environments. Number 2, it's acquiring the skills to be successful. Number 3, it's building a team for success. Number 4 is mentorship. And number 5 is the power of wildly important goal setting. And I promise you, if you listen to this video all the way to the end, these 5 principles have the power to transform your business. Now let's get into it, guys. When it comes to your environment, it'll either make you or break you, but no matter what, it will shape you. I want to show you a quick illustration on the power of environment, guys. You know, they say who we surround ourselves with is a predictor of who we will become. And I think this illustration really shows this well. I'm going to start by drawing 2 scales here. One will be inverted this way. Another will be inverted this way. And so this is the negative side, positive side. And this is attitude, negative attitude, positive attitude, negative attitude, positive attitude. And so if we're looking at a scale, and let's just start with the negative side, and let's just say we're looking at 4 individuals here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let's make it a group over here. Boom, boom, boom. And then we have the 1 positive person here, right? And now let's go on this side of the scale where you've got 4 positive people. Right? All right. And we've got 1 negative person here. We're going to imagine that you're the single individual in both scenarios. Let's start off here on my far right. If you're this single individual and you've got 4 negative people, I'm talking about the haters. I'm talking about sometimes the family members who love you and care for you, but just don't know how to communicate with you. I'm talking about your spouses. I'm talking about your girlfriends, your brothers and sisters, your siblings. Anyone who is negatively challenging any goals you have, right? Any desire you have to change your life, to change your circumstances. This is literally what's happening, guys. They are pulling you down. And how hard is it for you to be able to resist going negative when you have all this pressure on the negative side of the scale? Now let's reverse that equation and look at it the opposite way, right? Let's say you were once negative, but everyone around you is positive. Everybody's rowing in the same direction. They're all go-getters. They're all folks out here achieving great success. When you have that in your environment, you can clearly see it's much easier for you to slide right down, right? This is obviously an uphill climb to be positive, to get away from these folks, but they're constantly pulling you back. And I personally have experienced this in my life over the last couple of years. I had 4 individuals on my team and in my life that honestly were pulling me back for decades. My wife warned me about them, friends warned me about them, family warned me about them, and I didn't listen. And it definitely impeded my progress and slowed down my growth. And so once I removed those folks, believe it or not, from my life, it made space for all these other people out there to come into my life and really help me start to achieve my greatest success to date. And I'm super excited to really share these principles, because I'm telling you guys, once you adopt this mindset and start really looking at your life from the lens of how I can surround myself with the best people possible, it will exponentially change your life. And how do you do this? I'll tell you, the first way that I did it was jumping into a mastermind. I think that's really powerful. I joined a few networking groups. I went to meetups to connect with like-minded individuals. The other quick point I want to make about this is the way that I decide to take advice from someone is if they are achieving things I haven't achieved when it comes to my wealth and my health. If somebody's healthier than me, they're fitter than me, and they're giving me advice on my fitness and I'm asking for it, I'm definitely going to listen to it, because I am always seeking wisdom. If someone is giving me advice about my business, my personal life, my relationships, I'm going to look at their relationships. I'm going to look at their businesses, and I'm going to see if the relationships they have or the businesses they have embody what I'm seeking and what I'm looking for. And that is how I'll make my final decision whether or not to listen to them. So I hope this helps you out as you're out here battling all these negative forces, all this negativity to really find the best version of yourself, to find your success, and to find your goals. The next thing I want to talk about is skills. When I met with Donahue Peebles and got a chance to speak with him, he talked about the power of learning how to identify opportunities that others don't see. And honestly, whatever your business is, whatever you're doing in life, that really is going to be your competitive advantage. I'll give you an example in real estate. So for me, as a real estate developer and investor, one of the skill sets I developed was understanding how to do a zoning analysis. And what I mean when I say is, when I look at a property, I'm always looking for the highest and best use. So if someone sees a single family, let's say we're both looking at a lot where single family sits on it now, I will go and look at the zoning and see if by right, without getting a variance or doing anything, if I can convert that single family into a multifamily. If I can, I'm now finding hidden value that many folks don't see. And so when it comes to whatever your business is or career path is, you have to develop those skills. You have to seek mentorship. You have to get on YouTube University and acquire the knowledge. But most importantly, you have to take action. I follow Myron Golden and I read his book, Boss Moves. And one of the things he speaks on is learning is not just acquiring knowledge, it's doing. And I'm going to put that up here, because I think it's just very powerful for folks to really understand this, right? Learning is doing. At the end of the day, you can sit and acquire knowledge all you want, right? We've seen folks who are in academia, college professors, folks who just enjoy reading. They may have all this knowledge, but I'm going to tell you firsthand, the smartest person in the world is not the richest person in the world. It's the people who get out here, get after it, and actually do it, guys. So I think it's really important that we focus on the doing so that we can really start to learn and get out here and start building from the mistakes, but also building from the success. Because as you make those mistakes, it really is going to be the key way you're going to learn the game. The next thing I want to talk about that I learned from Donahue Peebles is building a team and using leverage. And so as we talk about leverage, I think it's important to use the analogy of different vehicles that will allow you to get to the same destination. So let's talk about leverage. Leverage, right? And we're going to start with a person, a human being is number one. We're going to go to a bicycle, right? We're going to go with a car. I'm going to do my best to do a car here, right? Not the best version of a car. We're going to go with an airplane, right? Or a jet. And then we're going to go with a rocket ship. All right, so we've got 4 different vehicles, right? And so if we're looking at leverage, guys, to really sum this up, if we have to race from, let's say, Boston to New York. If you want to get from Boston to New York and you have to walk or run versus someone on a bike, who's going to win that race? It's pretty obvious that the person on the bicycle is going to win. Now, if you want to continue this analogy, right, we'll look at the bike versus the car. Obviously, the car is going to get there faster than the bike will. And then the next obvious choice is a plane, right? A plane is going to get to that same destination from Boston to New York way faster than the car. And then lastly, the rocket ship is going to get to any destination, right? Obviously, it's not built for traveling on Earth, but it will get you to an entirely different stratosphere. And so I share these analogies, guys, because when we are looking to grow our businesses and change our lives, we have to start applying leverage in the same manner, and we have to use different vehicles to get to different destinations. And so when I share this, I'm talking specifically about the team that you build around you. Your team becomes your vehicle to get you where you want to go. So I'll use real estate again because that's the business I'm in. When I'm looking to develop a site, I'm looking to develop a site right now that has 250 units potentially that can be built on it. I'm hiring an exceptional architect. I'm hiring an exceptional attorney to negotiate the deal for me. I'm going to be hiring some additional team members to help with the financing and help raising capital. I'm going to be reaching out to different stakeholders in the community to get their input on the deal, right? I'm going to be reaching out to the city councilors, state reps, and the mayor, And so with that said, I'm building a team around me that's going to become my vehicle to get me to the finish line and increase the probability of success. I've heard Warren Buffett state this as well. For him, anytime he's looking to acquire a business, the first thing he does is he does a ton of research on the industry just so he gets some general knowledge of it. He doesn't become an expert by any means, but once he has some basic knowledge, he goes out and finds the best operator for that business to join his team so that he can make a decision as to whether or not to acquire it and have them step in, take over the company, and bring it to new heights and bring it to profitability. And so I really want to encourage you to stop relying on your own strength. You know, with me as a lender, I helped a lot of young investors and developers who are just getting started, trying to do everything on their own strength, struggle, nearly fail. I've had people on the phone with me crying face to face in tears because they struggled so hard and couldn't figure out a path forward. And I said, why didn't you just call me sooner? And we were able to get them the help they needed. But a lot of us think we have to build businesses on our own strength. And I'm telling you guys, nothing of great importance was built by one person. It took a team, it took leverage, it took collective effort for folks to come together with a shared vision to really make change and bring about the transformation that I'm sure you want in your life. And so that's really the lesson on the power of leverage. The next principle I want to talk about is mentorship. When I was coming up as a young real estate developer and investor, I was blessed to be able to be mentored by a commercial financer who was also a real estate developer and an architect. When I was in my late 20s, I was working in corporate America. I hated my job. A lot of good people were there, but I just didn't feel like the work I was doing was impactful enough, and it didn't align with my spirit and my creativity. And so I jumped into real estate and really gravitated to it because I felt that as an independent contractor at the time and an independent entrepreneur, I was able to really take my creativity, take my skill set, and apply it in a way where I could leverage that to make as much money as possible. And so in doing so, I was able to work for a developer who had a background in commercial financing, who really took me under his wing. And he was really my mentor, and I was the apprentice. And you know, he also connected me with an architect who I got to shadow for over a year to really understand architecture, how to read plans. I'm by no means an architect, but it did give me a foundational skill and skill set that I didn't have before, which really put my life on a different trajectory for the better. And so I think a lot of folks, yes, we have to get out there and learn and do things and make mistakes, but if you have the ability to find a mentor who can really take you under their wing and show you the ropes, I promise you that it'll save you heartache, it'll save you pain, it'll save you mistakes, and it'll make you money. It'll really streamline and shorten the time frame where you're able to achieve success. You know, I know other folks and other stories in the history of America that have been super successful. You know, there's a documentary called The Men That Built America. It's from the History Channel, and it showcased Rockefeller, who was the richest American to ever live. You know, they also showcased Carnegie, who was the great steel magnate. It showcased the Vanderbilts. And the one thing they all had in common coming up is that they all did apprenticeships under very successful businessmen of their time. And so if you have the opportunity to find a way to shadow someone, to work under someone, to really just get in an environment where you have highly successful people consistently and, you know, starting to adopt some of their habits and adopt some of the different practices and different businesses they're working in, you start working in those businesses and reach out to them and just, you know, when you have issues or problems, you'd be surprised at how quickly someone like myself or others will work with you if we see you making the effort to really transform your life and build something of value. So that really, for me, was a great stepping stone. And for so many of folks out there who are looking to grow their businesses and change their lives, apprenticeship, mentorship is really a foundational piece of that puzzle. And even in Donahue Peebles' life, you'll see there were many mentors early on in his 20s that showed him the way on how to become a developer. I think that was such a big part of his success as well. And the fifth and final point I'm going to share is setting wildly important goals, also known as WIGs. There's a lot of different philosophies out there about this, but I definitely was impacted in a very powerful way from what Donahue Peebles shared in the speech he gave. It wasn't directly in our conversation, but he and I did talk about it afterwards. And one thing he said that really resonated with me was, we must commit to getting as big as we can, as fast as we can. You know, he was kind of looking back and saying if only he could be in his 40s again. And I'm very fortunate because I'm in my 40s and I'm taking that same advice that he shared and applying it now to really exponentially grow my business. And whether in your 20s, your 30s or 40s or 50s or 60s, it doesn't matter. You really need to start coming up with these wildly important goals that will really pull you to success. And one thing I want to share with you guys before I show you this illustration is that what got you where you are today will not get you where you're going. And so the example I use is what got you to 100,000 in income is not going to get you to $1 million. It's not the same process. It's not going to get you to $10 million, right? Because if it is going to get you there, you already would have had the 10 million. You know, it's not going to get you to 100 million. So for every level you want to go to, it is a different pathway you have to take. You have to hire different people. You have to set that goal for the business, but it's a different journey and a different path. And so I'll show you guys a quick illustration I learned from Dr. Benjamin Hardy. He is a business coach, consultant who shares these principles for folks to really grow and transform their businesses. His book is 10X is Easier Than 2X. I highly recommend it. You definitely should check it out. And this is one of the illustrations he shared. I'm going to do my best to explain it. But right here is around, let's call this the 80% zone, right? This is where 80% of businesses kind of live and make their money and succeed, right? This is kind of 0 to 80%. Let's just see the average business makes 100K, right? 80% of businesses make 100K, and only 20% of businesses, this is the 20% zone, make $1 million, right? So we'll just say this is the $1 million range, and this is the 100K range, right? And so you notice I have these lines, and each of these lines represents a pathway starting from 0 all the way up. And we've only got about 3 lines going to the $1 million. These are 3 paths. Everyone else's journey is only taking them to about 100K, while there are a few folks who decided to venture to go bigger. And so that's really what wildly important goals do. They force us to shift our frame of mind from, you know, serving a much smaller group of people for our business. Just to say, for example, you have a retail store and you're not doing much online sales. You're focused primarily on the local sales, but there's a whole untapped market of folks who would love your product or love your service if you would open it up to them and allow them to purchase it online. And so that's where, you know, now you're looking at, you know what, I don't want to make 100,000. I want to make $1 million. I want to take this to the next level. And so if you want to get to that next level, it really requires next level thinking. And so this is where setting that goal now will force you to start charting a different course, a different path. You know, these folks who become the millionaires from the bunch did not settle for the same path, did not settle for the same things everyone was doing. They decided to think out of the box and really leverage that goal to get them there. I hope this helps you on your journey. You know, as I said today, I was going to cover these 5 principles. We talked about the power of transforming your environment. We talked about setting massively important goals. We talked about mentorship. We talked about acquiring the skills required for success. And we talked about building teams and leveraging those teams in order for you to get to the next level. And I hope, again, that this helps you on your journey. I'm Robert Nichols. If you like the content I'm sharing, please like, share, subscribe, because it really does help the channel and help us really get this word and get this message out to the folks who need to hear it. And that's a wrap for this week. I do drop my YouTube videos every Monday, so look out for my next video this coming Monday, and I'll see you soon. Stay tuned for more.